Hello and welcome into Celtics Tube, episode number 10. Dennis, the playoffs are not going as we hoped,
Nope.
but honestly, as we expected. It's Celtics, it's Nets, and to be honest, it was never a great matchup, even if the Celtics had Jaylen Brown, but they don't. So big three topics, 1 and 2, kind of mirror that of the Heat's big three, where their first two things are way more important in that, well, the Celtics are not very good, especially without Jaylen Brown. And the Nets are very good, which is not surprising because of their talent level. They have 2 MVPs and another player who hit the biggest shot in an NBA Finals.
It's true. Yeah, that team is, we knew coming in it would be a tough matchup and just a tough team to beat in general. And it hasn't worked out.
I mean, look, the Celtics were 0-3 in the regular season against the Nets without facing the full complement of the Brooklyn roster.
Exactly.
Now they're 0-5 on the season with these latest 2 playoff losses. The first game, hey, credit where it's due. The Celtics did what they have to do to make this at all competitive in that they made it ugly. It was not pretty basketball. Things were messy and sloppy. Jason Tatum played great. That's kind of what they have to do.
Exactly.
The second game, the Nets offense played well, and the Celtics just don't have the firepower, frankly.
They don't.
Or the ability to stop them if they're hitting shots, because when you lose Jaylen Brown, you don't just lose his offensive output, which was 25 points a game this season. You also lose an elite defender on the perimeter, and you're going up against, I don't think there's an argument, the best perimeter attack in the entire league when you have Harden, Kyrie, and KD.
Yep. And especially with our defense throughout this whole year, and like we've mentioned several times in our past, we are the exact opposite of an elite perimeter defending team.
The defense in game 2 was just non-existent.
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong. When you're going up against the Nets, they're going to hit tough shots. Yeah. They have 3 of the best offensive creators in the league, one of which being arguably one of the best of all time in Kevin Durant. You're going to get scored on. That's going to happen. They're going to take and make tough shots. But what you have to do is make all of the shots they're taking tough. So that way, at least you can lower their field goal percentage. If you're giving them open shots, shocker, they're going to hit them.
Make them.
Shocker. I mean, Harden's really become a fantastic passer. He went from being a good passer early in his career to fantastic. And the Celtics' resistance just wasn't there. It looked like early on in that game, the Celtics took a punch. And, the old Rocky adage is, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep coming. They got hit once, and they went down like a sack of potatoes, and they did not get up. They didn't get up. Yeah. That entire game, they didn't get up.
Exactly.
I mean, that's how you lose by almost 30.
True. Yeah. No, Joe Harris, too. When you have Kyrie, Harden, and KD coming at you, and they're all very, very good shooters, and you have Joe Harris, probably one of the best three-point shooters in the league, getting wide open space all the time. I'm pretty sure pretty much every one of his three-pointers in game 2 was wide open. And pretty much all of them.
And on one level, I get that you have to help off of Harden and or Durant and or Kyrie at times, but it's about measuring your help and how you're helping, because oftentimes defenders, be it at times Fournier, were hedging too far over to Kyrie and ignoring the fact that, if Kyrie takes a fadeaway 2 here that I don't help with, that's way more efficient for us defensively than giving Joe Harris, arguably one of the best wide open shooters in the entire league, a wide open 3. And that happened consistently. He hit 7. Terrible. Like that can't happen. He's going to go like 7 for 10 if you leave him open.
Yeah, every game for the rest of the year now. Yeah, no.
They're not easy to stay in front of. It's not easy to limit that, but you have to do something.
Yeah, you have to at least try. I mean, game 1, first half, great. Fantastic. Great playing. The Nets didn't hit their shots, but still, we looked solid. They looked like they wanted to be there. They were playing.
And they weren't wide open shots.
Yeah, they weren't wide open shots. They were at least making them work a little bit for everything. But, we were up, I think, 10-12 at one point for a pretty solid amount of time. And then, obviously, the implosion ended up kicking in, per usual, as we've seen from this team all year. But, still, game 1 as a whole, not a bad game. not terrible. But game 2 is just a whole another enemy. Like they were hitting everything. Defense didn't look like it was there. Offense was there. Tatum didn't have a good game, and then he got poked in the eye and was out the rest of the time. Hopefully he's good for game 3. But just overall, just terrible performance. Terrible. Didn't get anything good out of it.
Going into this, we said maybe the Celtics could get a game. I think that was.
And I said 2.
A fair realistic. That was bold.
That was bold.
That was bold. Do you think they get one? I find it hard.
So I hope so.
I really don't.
Game 4, that'll be the big one. Game 3, I'm not feeling too good about. And honestly, going down 3-0 never bodes well for a team. But we're gonna have packed garden for Game 4. That might get in some people's heads. That might be good.
I don't enjoy how much people overreact to individual games in series in the NBA playoffs. For example, the Lakers, they drop game 1. Everyone, they're done. And admittedly, Paul missed time in game 2, whatever. But they evened up the series, and now everyone's like, the Lakers are the team to beat. Look at how things are wide open for them. The overcorrection, somewhere in the middle, is usually the truth.
Yep.
Well, the problem for the Celtics here is that the overreaction is they're absolutely fried, and the underreaction is maybe they can get a game. So somewhere in the middle there is the truth, which is like a small percentage chance that they get a game, which they have to get something that happened like game 1. Again, I just don't see that happening. If this was a team known for staunch defense, like maybe the Knicks, that's why I think a team like the Knicks could get a game off the Nets, despite having less talent probably offensively on the roster than the Celtics at this point. This is without Jaylen Brown, mind you. But the Knicks could get a game from this Brooklyn team just by staunch defense. And in the NBA, with 5 minutes left, anything can happen. You just want to get to that point with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter where it's a close game.
Yeah.
They haven't done that yet.
Yeah, no.
Game 1, they had their chances, but it kind of got a little ugly by the end.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
so I don't think they get one.
Yeah, no. Especially if Tatum's eye injury, like if that hurts its depth perception, you never know with eye injuries that could like mess everything up in your head. So we need Tatum, like I think we said this last week too, we need Tatum to average like 50 points a game if we want any type of shot.
He has to go absolutely banana lands.
Yeah, exactly.
To even
lights out 80%
our remote
shooting.
chance. Yeah, at least 40 probably to win a game. But will that happen? Probably not. We'll see. Maybe, fingers crossed, I guess. But otherwise, on to big 3 topic number 3, which is essentially, yes, the season is over. Like, on to next year.
On the next year.
I have heard, I think the general consensus has eased off of Brad Stevens a little bit lately. The pendulum has kind of swung back a little bit. There's kind of that overreaction. And like I said, somewhere in the truth is kind of the middle.
Yep.
That's kind of where we landed here. I feel like Brad's definitely going to be back. And in all honesty, I think you should want that. I mean, who are you going to replace him with that has the credibility that he does? He has some things to work on. It's not just that injuries riddled this team. The defensive, lack of any defense really was a major problem and a step back from what you had seen in the past. So that's a concern. But, no one was hit harder with COVID in this league. As we've mentioned, no one was, similarly, no one's hit hard with injuries. This team just didn't have its full complement for most of the season. I think you got to give them another go next year. They could use a little bit better, maybe roster construction as far as bringing in some guys who might fit a little better. I don't know that Fournier is the right piece.
Yeah.
I think, Gordon was a big miss.
Yeah.
In the trade market, I think he would have been a much better fit. We'll see what they're able to do in the offseason. I think a move or two definitely need to be made to shore up the defensive end, get a little bit more shooting, I think would also be great. I think those two things are real keys in the offseason. And is in the end, you know what? We look at this Brooklyn team, we say they're great, but it's not like we look at it and we're like, oh, what a horrible shame that Jaylen Brown isn't here. The Celtics would beat them. We're like, oh, maybe the Celtics could make it a series. And you know what? You got to reach that hump if you want to get out of the East to even have a shot at the NBA Finals, because you got 2 very good teams in the East at the top, and the Bucks are there too. I guess I just don't. I need to believe it before I see it in
I
the
know
playoffs from
with
them.
what we've seen in the past. Yeah.
But you got the Sixers and the Nets, who are still going to be there. Now I don't
Yep.
know how long the Nets, with the injury bug they already had this year, keeping
Yeah.
things healthy with the age of their players might be a problem. But just in general, that's what you have to strive for to be better than.
Exactly. Exactly.
Tatum can still take steps. I think people forget how young he is.
Yep. Jalen too.
Jalen as well. Yeah, they're both under 24.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of room for growth there.
Exactly. Yeah. Next year is going to be, it'll be an interesting year. Like you said, I think Brad's good. No better options out there. I think, yeah, like you said, like we've had the most amount of COVID issues, injury issues. We've just had the bug all year. Like even in the play-in game, we saw an injury. Like it just happened. It's pretty much every game. It's like a revolving door. If someone gets injured, it might not be super extreme, but like every game, in and out. And I think something this whole year that's people forget about too is kind of like a fast. It was a fast season. Like everything went by pretty fast. Everything was clumped together. We had a lot of back-to-backs. We had a lot of games in a short amount of times. So the team, along with having the injury issues and the people out, they never really had a chance to practice all together and to get that defense worked out. So I think next year with a long off season, I think Brad might be able to work out the chinks in that and figure out, because like we've said, we've had a high tier defense like for the past few years before this happened. So it's just kind of came out of nowhere. Wasn't expected at the beginning of the season, but again, like you said, I think we do need a few more key pieces, little changes to the roster. We have a really young bench too. We don't have much depth. So I think we need some more established guys coming out of our bench, especially like you said, a shooter would be big, who we can rely upon, especially at end of games if we need him to hit some shots, as well as if we get down big on runs. But I think another thing would be a solid established big, because Tristan Thompson hasn't extremely worked out too well. I mean, he's had some big games, some better games, some worse games. He was also out for a while with COVID.
And his biggest performances have mainly been in the tabloids.
Exactly. Just rebounding, not many points. He's not a big scorer or anything. And Rob Williams, obviously, we all love Rob Williams. He's been great, had a big jump this year, but like it continues to be a concern about his injuries. It seems like the dude can never get healthy. I want him to so bad because he's such a great athletic person in general. Like he's so good at basketball and he has the good instinct for passing, just being in the right place at the right time and blocking the right people. But yeah, Tatum's gonna have a big jump again probably. Brown probably will as well, but we're gonna need some of the other guys on the roster to pick it up.
And that's really brings me to my final thought too, which is just nut up or shut up. That's what next season is. I mean, everyone kind of is on the line for next season because if they can't make things happen, look, if the roster construction is poor, that's on Danny Ainge. There's been a lot more pressure on him. It could be him on the way out the door, and with him potentially Brad Stevens if the defense doesn't improve, and or just honestly general performance. This team needs to be a top 4 seed in the East next season. I think to save a lot of those people. And it's a big year for Tatum too. I know he's a very young player, but Devin Booker has already shown, admittedly with Chris Paul's help, but he did it in the bubble before first. In a similar age that he's capable of being that guy. Can Jason Tatum be that guy to lead a team?
Yeah, that's
remains to be seen. Him and Jaylen Brown have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But, and they showed a lot of great flashes this year of progress. And I think it is ignored how young they are, but you got to show it at some point.
Exactly. I totally agree. I think like we've mentioned it throughout the season on a few of our shows too. We need to see that consistency from them. We need to see the leadership day in, day out, effort on the court, never getting down. We just need, like you said, Booker's a prime example for a young guy who's really stepped up this year and led the Suns to number 2 seed and could possibly beat the Lakers. Brutal first round matchup for them. I feel bad, but we're going to need to see some big steps up from them just in their character themselves and the way they play. And I think we will. I love them both. They've been awesome. Can't really say anything bad about how they played this season, especially they were two positive lights of the season other than the rookie play. But my final thought as well, pretty much just bringing us into next season. I do have a small tidbit of a final thought still on this series. I wanted to get, and I think I brought this up last week too. I wanted to get a little chippy. We want something to come out of it.
Yeah.
Like get the guys going, the blood pumping, like get the vibes.
You don't want to see your boys go down without a fight.
No,
I mean, like, look,
no, exactly.
Everyone loves the movie Braveheart. And you know why? Because even though he was down and pretty much kind of out, obviously at the end, like he still, just keep coming. Just keep coming. And that motivated for the future, right? Like, William Wallace died, but his death with putting up fight right till the end, birthed a victory in the end. So maybe, putting up some fight at the end of this year could get some momentum. If they could just get like a game or something, make it competitive. No one expects anything from this team against the Nets. They're overmatched, outclassed in this way.
Yeah. Yeah. Even
get a game, make it competitive.
Yeah. Charles Barkley even hit his button the other day saying that he guaranteed that we were getting swept. So that might be good, honestly, because usually Chuck's wrong, especially with us. So hopefully that means we'll get at least a game. But yeah, we saw it with the Fournier last game. He got into KD's face a little bit during the game, which was nice to see someone at least like showing something out on the court, because I kind of missed the Celtics of the IT Crowder Avery Bradley days when we played the Wizards in the Eastern Conference Finals, or not the Eastern Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Semifinals, and it was just a really chippy series, a lot of pretty much fighting going on. Like it was really fun to watch. Like everyone was getting in each other's heads, and we don't see that much anymore in basketball, and I kind of miss that. But just at least something. So show something out there. Get a game, maybe just try to get the games to be interesting, at least towards the end, and maybe pull one out here or there. And game 4, I think, is our chance to do it with the Garden back. But otherwise, just need to prep for next season, everyone get healthy in the off season, and have a good draft, maybe make a good trade or two, good signing. And I think we'll be all right next year. I hope.
So we'll see. TBD if next week's show will be goodbye to the season show or, just a little bit more of playoff talk. We'll see. We'll see what happens next week. That'll do it for this week's episode. I'm Jackson. He's Dennis. Remember to comment down below if you have any thoughts during the episode, and please hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next week.